I don't know how we would get along in our technological society and civilization without the use of defaults. Defaults, you pick up a phone, a device, an MP3 player, and it's already set, ready to go for you to experiment with. I mean, when I pick up a new device, I don't expect it to ask me, "Oh, by the way, do you mind changing every little setting to your preference so that I can even begin to work?" It would be atrocious, and many of the items in Minecraft, to kind of tie this have defaults, specifically in Tekkit and in the submod Industrial Craft and Buildcraft. They all have defaults, certain ways they are designed to work without any sort of intervention. And you notice in my last video, I had simply put a quarry down and let it do its default, I believe, 9 by 9 frame, just for experimentation. When you're first starting out, that 9 by 9 frame is just fine. As a matter of fact, here we have it on this beautiful lake of ice and snow and atrocious, terribly destructive lava over in the distance. So you notice nothing interesting happens. I've laid down a quarry, it's done its little 9 by 9 or 10 by 10 square, and it's ready to mine. But there comes a point where either A, you have need of a special shape of quarry, or B, you have need for a ton of blocks. Now this usually comes into play when you get into the add-on equivalent exchange, where you're taking several blocks of a low energy value and converting it to items or blocks of a high energy value. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's get rid of this default quarry. Today we're going to learn about a special item in the game called landmarks. Landmarks. They are fantastic for modifying those frame structures you just saw. But how do they work? How do these mythical blue devices that actually look like, the kind of wands that perhaps a road builder would use? Alakazam, there's a highway. Alright, that was a little bit nerdy, but here is the landmark in its natural habitat, and its one use, its most primitive use, is just a great leveling tool. If you just want to see how to make something straight and nice and flat, or if you have multiple people working on the same project and maybe your buddies aren't very coordinated or they have trouble following instructions, you could say, boy, I'd sure like to fence off that pig over there. How about instead of just killing it, we make the biggest wall in the world across this frozen lake? You could use this landmark, powered by a redstone torch, to do just that. Here we see that a line has gone out straight in all directions. Apparently it's poking the sun. You see it moving there. And you can now use this, and your friends can use this as long as they were in the chunk that the landmark was in when you laid down the torch. And you could build a wall to infinity. Leave this poor pig out. Look at its face. My God. Saddest creature in existence. Leave this pig out here on the ice lake for the rest of its miserable existence. But that's just the basics. That's just starting out. Let's go ahead and walk slowly over this ice lake, back over to this redstone torch. And we're going to see the application of the landmark that we came here to see, that we came here to use. And that is its use, its application in constructing a frame for many Buildcraft items, including the quarry. Now, your default is 9 by 9. I'm going to count out 9, and then I'm going to say, you know what, I need a ton of blocks, and I'm going to roughly double that amount that we want to go. Now, a frustrating thing about these silly landmarks is that you would logically only need 3 to define a space of any given two-dimensionality. You would need an X and a Y, and since it's going to make a cuboid or a rectangle anyways, it should. Sometimes it doesn't. But here we have it. We have simply right-clicked. You saw me right-clicking on a couple of landmarks until I get a nice constructed frame. You have to be a little bit careful because you don't have to be off by much before suddenly your landmark isn't working at all. And you could, you know, from a distance, especially with really big quarries, you could be saying, my, that looks like it's about lined up. What on earth happened? So this is a case where, I can't point to it, but you see the mini-map in the top right with the coordinates can certainly come into handy. We'll notice that this is at Y39 and X56, so we'll go ahead and set that back down there, destroy that ancillary landmark, and we gotta go through the trouble of clicking on that again. That's okay. We're getting to the meat right now. It is constructed our frame, it is rock roll ready to go. We have our quarry that we are now sick of mining little 9x9 squares with, and all you have to do to get this configuration to work is to simply place your quarry at the corner of one of these landmarks. Look at that. Bada boom, giant quarries. Now, on the wiki, one of the few things on the wiki that is accurate is that the maximum size of a frame that you can build is about 62 spaces out. Once it starts unloading chunks for these landmarks, you won't be able to build a frame any larger. And this frame is just a small example, however, of the size you can build. Now, something important to note is after the frame's constructed, the Buildcraft mod designers didn't think it would be fair for your landmarks to be consumed. I mean, that's lapis lazuli and that's redstone torches that you could get back. So all it does is it pops them off the ground, and depending on how easy or difficult they are to get, I do recommend you pick them back up. Here in creative, I could have killed that pig with them and thrown him in the lake for all that matters. So this has been a small aside on how to create frames, and it's going to be necessary for a tutorial that I have coming up about builders, template builders, and blueprint builders, I believe. I'm going to go over all three of them in one foul video. Now, something that I'd like to add, it's not important right this second, but it will be important later on, is that these landmarks can also be used to generate structures in 3 dimensions. Now, you would think this could be simply done by adding another torch vertically, and you would be correct. That's exactly what we're going to do. Let's see if we can get out of here without any lag. That would be amazing. Oh, look at that. Sometimes life is cool. One important thing to note is that when you are making a 3-dimensional structure, you have to place the Z, the depth, whatever you want to call it, torch, on the side of the block. Now, this is a strange convention that they developed, but it works, I suppose. And it could certainly be a little bit of work before you get everything to line up right. Like, you would think that this structure I just built here would work fine, and it doesn't. Oh, look, there it goes. You see how simply destroying that torch, which didn't allow it to connect at all, has now made a 3-dimensional frame? Sometimes Buildcraft is a little special like that. But the good news is we have our 3-dimensional frame looking off into the sunset. I feel like just experimenting with them is the easiest way to get good at constructing frames of your size at your leisure. In fact, I think that I didn't even need the extra torches here if I was a little bit smarter and had set them up in a different fashion. So now, take a drink of this delicious water, and we're going to have another lesson packed into this video, because I didn't think simply going over landmarks was going to be enough to impress you, especially after that last stellar video. So now, we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to go away from that and enjoy some time griefing. I don't like griefers or griefing. I'm not a fan of anyone that would come on any server anywhere and cause trouble, which is why I'm here at home in creative, ready to blow some stuff up. Now, depending on how advanced you are in industrial craft and Tekkit in general, This may not be the tutorial for you. If you were just looking how to set up frames, go ahead and rewind the video and give it another go, because it took me a couple tries too. But right now we're going to go over the transformers. That is the second portion of this video. So what I'm going to do immediately is go ahead and set down our trusty MFSU that you saw from the last video that I positioned incorrectly, and I hope that you had a good time watching me stumble around trying to figure out what the problem was. But now we're gonna supercharge this thing. We really want to ramp up the energy for this fun experiment. Now what a lot of people don't realize right away when they're using industrial craft, when they're just getting started, is that industrial craft has 3 levels of energy. It has 3 levels of power output per tick measured in EUs. But if you notice, this MFSU outputs things at a whopping 512 EUs per tick. The 3 levels are the high voltage, 512, medium voltage, 128, and low voltage, 32 EUs per tick. Now things like regular old school macerators, you remember that when you were first getting into industrial craft and you wanted to double your mining efforts, you would put down your macerator. But later on you may have noticed that it is a bad idea to supply it with too much voltage, as so. Oh, lag. Wonderful lag. So that was anticlimactic. I expected a giant explosion. Maybe if I do a tutorial on nuclear reactors sometime, we can enjoy that. But the point is, we've lost that excellent macerator that you may have spent probably, depending on how slow you are at using the Too Many Items mod. That's this mod here that will show you on the side here what you want to build. It may have taken you quite a while to build that macerator, and that's not what we want to do. So here comes the part where we're going to go through a little bit of trial by fire and step down this high voltage current, this 512 EU. So there's 3 transformers that are available. We have the HV transformer. Now this is tricky, pay attention. We have the HV transformer, which will transform extreme current, which is anything over 512, to 512 EUs per tick. So unless you have a nuclear reactor going that's outputting gigawatts of energy, you're not going to need to worry about the HV transformer. The one we're interested in right now, following the methodology of high voltage, medium voltage, and low voltage, is the medium voltage transformer. Now what we want to do is we want to pipe the output from whatever is generating this much energy to this transformer. Oh boy, I'm definitely going to need a wrench for this bad boy, because I'm going to show you another cool feature that I should have showed you on the last episode, but I didn't. So this is the electric wrench. It's the recommended wrench for any builder anywhere, because you can set it to lossless mode by holding down M and right click. I can now remove any of these machines and I don't have to worry about losing the machine itself. Using any other wrench in any other mode, you have a 10% chance or higher of losing the machine. You don't want to do that. Back to the transformer tutorial portion though. Right now we notice the different sides, and depending on your texture pack this could look different, but I believe in the default texture pack it just has a dot on where the energy is supposed to go, and we're going to use this wrench to turn it so that now the output of the MFSU, which will have a dot, is going into the input of this medium voltage transformer. So pay attention, we've gone from 512 EU to 128 EU, but that's still not good enough. That's still gonna probably fry wires that are hooked up to it and blow stuff up. 128 EU is too much for any basic machine, and if I'm not mistaken, it's too much for even advanced machines. You just noticed there. Bad idea to hook up anything over 32 EU. Look at this mess we've made. once again, uh, this is bad. Here we go. After you've patched up your house, after making all these mistakes, as I have done several times, you will learn that you need to take one of these output faces from the medium voltage transformer and head it to a, you guessed it, low voltage transformer. This will take 128 EU and step it down to something usable by all your machines, 32 EU per tick. Once again, however, it's facing the wrong direction. Going to need to turn that around, get our trusty wrench out. Now we have the output of your energy storage device, it could be any energy storage device, to the medium voltage transformer, input, output from the medium voltage transformer to the low voltage transformer, input, and now finally I'm going to use copper cables for a little bit of nostalgia, but you can use these glass fiber cables as well from once you have it down to low voltage. We are going to hook up our regular old-fashioned macerator, and you notice the magic of not having exploded portions of our map. So if I've gone a little bit too fast here, I do apologize, and I probably should have recorded this in the default skin, since these are going to look a little bit different. In fact, let's take a gamble here. Oh, what a gamble. And see if we can't turn on the default look of Minecraft. I hope that my voice is still coming through because it's lagging quite a bit. Here we go. So if you don't have Spax BD Craft, which I should leave a link to, this is what it's going to look like. Oh my goodness, how wildly different the landscape is on the default texture. But we still notice that the output of the energy storage has one dot, and oh, I made a mistake. The input of the transformers has 3 dots on them with the default texture pack. But this is still your medium voltage. This is still your low voltage with the most awful wooden texture you've ever seen. And you have your macerator, busy not blowing up. That pretty much covers it for this tutorial. I might have gone a little fast on the transformers. This is all assuming that you have a basic knowledge of industrial craft. And I'm really just trying to save you from blowing yourself up, blowing your hard-earned machines up. In fact, I'll finish this video with a little story. So, I was busy experimenting with using different... Geez, I can't even get a dirt block. With using different transformers with my I wanted to run the mass fabricator so bad that I ended up setting up a nuclear reactor, which is dangerous anywhere, especially on my buddy's server. So I was running it, and the reactor setup I had was only generating well under the 512 EUs that can be handled by the medium voltage transformer. So I got sick of not having enough power. I got sick of not being able to run my sweet quarries whenever I wanted to, all the time, and have all my machines on all the time. So I ended up changing my configuration. So instead of outputting under 512 EUs per tick, it would start outputting somewhere in the ballpark of 640 EUs per tick. And this means that everything along the line, everything, my MFSU, my transformers, all of the wire between them, instantly evaporated. Which, while it was entertaining, it took me a while to get another MFSU built. Well, hey, look at that. It looks like we found a bug in the system. I've gone from high voltage directly into a low voltage transformer, and nothing's exploding. So use that to your advantage. I didn't know about that. Oh my, it looks like we're powering this macerator directly with 512 EUs per tick. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I have just discovered the most awesome game-breaking mechanic in all of Buildcraft, other than this awesome block shooter that I didn't get enough time to play with in the last video. So, now that we've learned to break the game, go ahead and enjoy your time using transformers and setting up landmarks to have giant quarries feeding into who knows what, because reality has completely turned on its head.